Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the February 11th, 2026 East Whiteland Township Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm Chairman Scott Lambert. On my immediate right is Peter Fixler and Clinton Smith, supervisors, and on my left is Bernadette Kearney, our solicitor, and Steve Brown, our township manager. If we can rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Got a number of activities with a lot of people here, so I guess we'll start off with board briefings, and we had executive sessions that were held for legal, personal, and real estate issues on January 14th and February 11th. Catherine, do you want to give us an update on our grant award programs at this point in time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am very pleased to announce a significant award that's been given to the township through the Congressionally Directed Spending Program. This is for Route 30 improvements, and the grant total is $3,150,000, which is a phenomenal award, and major thanks to our U.S. Representative Chrissy Houlihan, who supported the township's efforts as far as this is concerned. This takes us to about $8.5 million total in grant funding for the Route 30 improvements alone, and I know that Scott may have a few other words to add on to that.
Yep. So essentially what this grant plus previous grants that we had received through state and local programs basically puts us in a position where we can fully fund the improvements at the intersection of Route 30 and 352, which we're excited about. But to give you an idea of what the 3.1 million represents, just some interesting numbers, is that it equates to about $600 per household here in East Whiteland Township. That $3.1 million equates to 4 times the real estate tax we receive. And it also represents 25% of our total earned income tax revenue for the year. So it's a substantial amount of money, has a great impact. And I'd like to thank Catherine Ricardo, Zach, Brittany, the folks at Bowman, Maggie Roy from Delta, and certainly Congresswoman Houlihan for her assistance to help push it over the line. The grant was submitted 3 years ago. We were approved by a number of different bipartisan committees during that period of time, but the money was held up. But Chrissy Houlihan continued to push it through, and we received it. So thank you, Congressman Houlihan. Larry, we've got any park and rec updates?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Parks and Recreation is very much in the planning stage for the rest of the year this year, with our inaugural event coming up next Friday, our gift card bingo making its third return. We're going to be back at GVCO next Friday from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We have a lot of great prizes from some of our amazing local businesses, General Warren, People's Light, Wegmans, Wawa, and many others. We're hoping to have at least 10 rounds of bingo, probably more, with over $1,000 of prizes up for grabs. This is all, of course, a fundraiser for Parks and Recreation for our future programs and events. And hot off the presses, we'll actually have the Girl Scouts there as well. They'll be selling cookies. So bring your appetites and cookies, and they're also going to do a 50-50 for a cookie prize basket as well, so that'll be fun. A little further down the line. We actually have summer camp registration starting soon. Next Monday, we have registration opening up for our residents of East Whiteland Township. 2 weeks after that, on Monday, March 2nd, we'll have registration opening up for non-residents. And if you are interested in registering, pre-registration is open for residents now and will open for non-residents next week. After that, we have our egg hunt making its third return. We'll be back at Immaculata again for this year, which is awesome. They're a great partner and host of this event, and that's going to be on Saturday, April 4th, the day before Easter, and it'll be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then finally, our summer concert series is making its grand return this summer as well, looking to be one of our best concert series ever. Hoping to have maybe one large surprise. Scott might know what I'm talking about. We're working on that in the background, but everything else we've been working on has been top-notch acts so far. We're looking to announce that slate of artists soon. Third Wednesday of the month, as usual, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Valley Creek Park. And the dates are May 20th, June 17th, July 15th, and August 19th. I've got a few more things to announce, but not quite ready yet, so keep your eyes and ears on our website, on our Facebook page, and our Park and Recreation registration site, and you'll see some more events and programming coming soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. One more topic, and then we'll be back to the main activity that you're all here for. Catherine, if you can give us an open space update.
Thank you. Yes, we had a few closings that occurred at the end of 2025 that we just wanted to update the public and the board on, so I'm just going to run through those very quickly. The first one was a property at Old Sweetsford Road and Hillside Drive adjacent to the Down East neighborhood. It's approximately 2.5 acres of land. This serves as an open space buffer between the Down East neighborhood and Sweetsford Road. The township does not have any plans for it as of right now. It'll just serve as a buffer for that community from the road. It was purchased for $407,000 from the Open Space Fund. And the second property, this was one that was decades in the making and is associated with the Malvern TCE Superfund site. Just adjacent to that is the properties referred to as Spring Ridge and Balderston. This was 135 acres total that'll be preserved permanently as open space. This was a joint effort between the township, the underlying property owners, the responsible parties, the Justice Department, and the EPA that took many, many years to finally come to fruition and was funded almost entirely through grant funding. It was just over $1 million purchase, and you'll probably see it's just adjacent to the Great Valley Middle School and High School. It's really easy to miss the entrance to it there. But it is an expansive woodland area that our plan is to master plan this, but essentially it'll be a very rustic nature preserve type area with an informal trail system. So more to come on that one in the future.
Thanks, Catherine. Moving on to board motions, I'm going to turn the program over to Greg Lewis to go through some recommendations of appointments and promotions within his department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first thing I'd like to go over is a significant incident that we had in East Whiteland Township on Friday, January 30th. It was an extremely busy day for our crews, and as everybody remembers, temperatures that day were very sub-zero temperatures. Just shortly before 10:45 in the morning, our company was dispatched to the Pennsylvania Turnpike for a tractor and trailer fire. So Deputy Chief Ratchko, Squad 5 and Tanker 5, with all 5 personnel, responded to the Turnpike for a tractor and trailer fire that was, in fact, on fire. I stayed back at the station. I had an 11 o'clock meeting. Shortly after crews were still en route to the Turnpike, our company was dispatched for a second call on Route 202. It was originally dispatched on northbound Route 202. It turned to be out on southbound Route 202. With all of our crews being tied up on another emergency, we received mutual aid from the Berwyn Fire Company, Malvern Fire Company, and EMS units out of both of those stations. I responded from the station, and as I was going northbound, they gave me reports that it was southbound. I had approximately 7 to 8 bystanders frantically jumping up and down on the southbound side of 202 as I drove by northbound. I could tell right away that I had a vehicle that potentially left the roadway. Once I made the flip and come back southbound, I pulled up on the scene. I met with bystanders, and they told me they had a vehicle over the embankment in a creek with the driver heavily trapped. So at that point, I established the command. I requested a specialized rescue unit out of the Fame Fire Company out of Westchester, because I knew we were going to have a rope rescue operation to get the crews down to that call and get the patient eventually back up from that call. First arriving units from Berwyn Fire Company got there. I requested additional manpower from the other station out of Berwyn, which brought other units from their main station. Ladder 4 then arrived, and then Fame Fire Company out of Westchester arrived. Once crews were able to get down to the vehicle that was approximately 50 to 60 feet down the embankment, the driver was heavily trapped in the vehicle. We had to remove the doors, the roof, and roll the dash to eventually remove that subject. It took us approximately, from the time of arrival to extrication complete, was 56 minutes. As I said, temperatures were sub-zero. Crews were actually standing in water, performing this extrication most of the time. So we did eventually have to request the mass casualty bus from Tower Health out of Phoenixville Fire Department, just so when our crews come up, we could get them into the warmth and get them into rehab. But this was a very intricate extrication, and all crews from all the surrounding companies worked well together. Once our crews were able to extinguish the fire, our crews made their way to the call. We also had assistance from Traffic 5 and Utility 5-1 as our fire police that assisted at the scene. So there is several members in the back of the room that were on that call, and I can't thank all the crews enough for having the successful outcome that we did. The patient was then removed and transported to Paoli Hospital with serious injuries.
Thanks, Greg, for that update. I know that day was pretty crazy for you. I think when we talked at some point in time, you had 8 to 12 calls by noontime or so.
Yeah, by mid-afternoon, we were like 10 or 12 calls deep at that point.
A big thank you, guys and gals, for working on this and taking care of it and responding the way you did.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay, now we'll get into the recommendations for the appointments and the promotions in your department.
All right. First one, I'll start with A, the recommendation for the appointment of Deputy Chief Brian Ratchko to the Emergency Management Coordinator position. Some background on that position, as some of the board and staff will remember, back in 2020, the fire department and the codes department were underneath the codes and life safety department. Around that time, there was a lot of change in personnel in those departments, and the township made a decision to make 2 separate departments, and we made a Department of Fire and Emergency Services, and then we made a codes department. So at that point in time, in April of 2020, Captain Lauren Nafsinger willingly accepted the position of Emergency Management Coordinator to fill that vacant role. Since April of 2020, Lauren's been instrumental in updating our emergency operations plan, working with township officials, county officials, bringing numerous training sessions to the township, updating our various policies, and really bringing our emergency management staff up to where it is today. Currently, our emergency management staff consists of Deputy Chief Ratchko, Captain Nafsinger, Captain Plumley, and Assistant Fire Marshal Matthews, and myself. All of us work together to plan major events, train, deal with the county in several other capacities. So with the addition of the Deputy Chief's position, we felt that that position would best fall underneath the Deputy Fire Chief with the schedule that that position works and the roles and functions that that position can fulfill. All three of our captains have significant ancillary duties that they have to perform, and this is something that we felt was suited for the deputy chief position. But as I stand here tonight, I know on behalf of our department, I thank Lauren for everything that he's done in that position, and Lauren will continue to work in the emergency management department and assist us as we move forward.
So at this point, I'll ask for a motion so we officially approve the appointment. Peter, would you like to make a motion?
Of course, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Brian Ratchko to the position of Deputy Fire Chief and Emergency Management Coordinator.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And passes. Congratulations, Brian.
Next thing on the agenda is to ratify the promotion of firefighter EMT Christopher Plumley to the rank of captain. With the promotion, the addition of the deputy chief's position, that created a vacancy at the captain's level. So just some background on Chris Plumley. Chris Plumley's been with us about 4+ years now in a full-time capacity. Chris comes to us with 20+ years experience in the fire and emergency services field. He served as a fire chief in the southern end of Chester County for several years and continues to be a great leader within our department. So I'm asking the board to ratify the promotion of firefighter EMT Christopher Plumley to the rank of captain.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to appoint full-time firefighter Chris Plumley to the rank of captain.
I second that. All in favor? Aye. And passes. Congratulations.
Chris, come on up. All right. Next thing, I promise everybody I'm done soon, I'm sorry. With the promotion of Christopher Plumley to captain, that created a vacancy at full-time firefighter EMT. So I'm asking the board to ratify the promotion of firefighter EMT Michael McGuire to full-time firefighter EMT. Just some brief about Michael. He's been with us a little over probably a year and a half as a part-time firefighter EMT. Currently works full-time at the Berwyn Fire Company. I can probably say with pretty certainty that Michael is probably the fastest rising part-time firefighter in hours-wise over the short year and a half period that he's been here. But Michael also comes to us with 20+ years of experience in the fire service. Currently works full-time at the Berwyn Fire Company, and he's also the volunteer fire chief of the Radnor Fire Company in Delaware County. So I'm asking the board to ratify the promotion of firefighter EMT Michael McGuire to full-time firefighter EMT.
Clinton, would you like to make the motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to ratify the promotion of Michael McGuire to full-time firefighter EMT.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Michael.
Firefighter McGuire is signed to the A platoon under the direction of Captain Knapsinger. All right. Lastly here, we ratified this position in the January meeting, but I would like to formally appoint Deputy Chief Ratchko. So Deputy Chief Ratchko's here with family members tonight. His dad, Bob, mom, Maureen, and his girlfriend, Karina. So at this time, I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Ratchko to come up and his girlfriend Karina, and they can pin his badge. Thank you.
You're on a roll here. Any more you want to add?
I don't know. What do you want me to handle here? Thank you.
Thank you,
You want me to do yours?
and thank all of you for everything you do. Okay. Chris Yeager, you are up.
Shocked again. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight, too. This is one of the biggest showings we've had in a long time, so it's nice to see that for both of our organizations. I have 3 things to do tonight. The first one is 2 police officers. We hired full-time. It was over the holiday, and most of the work was done, so we're just getting around to getting them in now. But the first one is Officer Isaac Lauterbach. He brings 19 years of combined military, law enforcement, and security experience to the East Whiteland Township Police Department. He's a graduate of the Philadelphia Police Academy, and he previously served with the Philadelphia Housing Authority Police Department, where he gained extensive experience in patrol operations and community engagement. He's also a licensed and highly skilled drone operator, adding valuable technical capability to our agency's drone operations. Officer Lauterbach's diverse background, professionalism, and commitment to public service make him a strong asset to our department and the community we serve. Officer Lauterbach. Also, he has just recently completed his FTO program, so he's a full-fledged officer in a car on his own and so forth. The second officer who was the most recently hired is Officer Kieran Dunphy. He was born and raised in Chester County. After completing his education at Bishop Shanahan and later Westchester University, he pursued a career dedicated to national security and public protection. In 2021, Officer Dunphy joined the United States Secret Service, serving with distinction as a member of the White House Patrol Unit. His work in this highly demanding environment deepened his experience in federal law enforcement. Seeking to continue his service at the local level, Officer Dunphy completed the MOPEC Academy in August of 2025. He brought his training, discipline, and federal experience to our police department when he joined in December, where he continues to serve with professionalism and dedication. And I will add, he's been very fast going through our FTO program, and he's a quick learner, so he's doing well, and we're in good shape now. Karen? And finally, as we saw in last month's meeting, Officer Abel retired, and one of these were a position for that, and then we also have a position open for sergeant. So we went back to our latest sergeant's test, and Sam Moran, where is Sam? So Sam Moran was, after a really intense process, he's being appointed to the position of sergeant. It was effective January 12th. Sam Ram began his law enforcement career in 2018 with the East Whiteland Township Police Department. Before joining our agency, he spent 3 years with the SEPTA Police Department and 8 years with the Delaware Department of Corrections, gaining experience in both policing and institutional security. Since joining our department, Sergeant Moran has taken on a variety of responsibilities. He also is a licensed drone pilot and contributes to operations requiring aerial support. He also serves as an instructor in taser, use of force, and firearms, helping ensure that officers across the department receive consistent, high-quality training. Sergeant Moran continues to apply his experience and technical skills to support the department's mission and the community we serve. Congratulations to Sergeant Moran on his promotion to sergeant. Sergeant Moran's wife is going to carefully pin his badge on him. She promised. You could stick him a little bit, it won't hurt.
Congratulations to all, and to make it official, I'm going to ask Peter to make a motion to ratify the promotions.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to ratify the promotion of Sam Moran, Sergeant Sam Moran, to the position of sergeant. That's it?
No, Officer.
Oh, I have to do all three. I'm
Well, we'll
sorry.
do all three.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Let me start over. I'd like to make a motion to ratify the promotions of Sergeant Sam Moran and the new officers, the full-time positions of Officer Lauterbach and Officer Dunphy.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it's
Thank
official.
you.
I just want to know, where is the party? The lunchroom?
We don't see this many full-time staff when we give out free food. This is incredible turnout.
We have cake over in the police department if anybody's interested, and beer. Oh, no, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
All right, come on, guys, let's go. Oh. Yeah, meeting adjourned. See ya. Again, thank you and congratulations.
Yes.
Because God knows we need it.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, Catherine, do you want to kind of get ready here?
It's a lot quieter in here now. So for the next item, this is the amendment number, it's actually number 2, I should say, for the UCC Board of Appeals intermunicipal agreement. That was a typo on my end, so I apologize. It's number 2. I'm going to ask for this to be tabled. We've gotten some comments from Easttown that we want to work through together, so we'll probably see this again, but just for now, table that if the board's all right with that. So on to the next one is the appointment for the...
I probably,
Oh, sure.
I probably need to make a motion to table it.
No, you don't.
You don't?
No action, no.
Okay. All right.
So the appointment for the Ridley Springs Farm Master Planning Committee members, so this is, last year, we were successful in purchasing 52 acres of open space on Morstein Road, referred to as the Ridley Springs Farm property. Shortly after the acquisition, the township engaged Natural Lands to prepare a master plan for open space and recreation planning for the property, and we put out a call for applications to serve on the committee. And we received an overwhelming response, probably the most applications I've seen in a long time. We had a lot of interviews that were conducted, and thank you to the board members for participating in those as well. They were interviewed by a combination of the board and staff, and the following recommendations for appointment are suggested. So if the board's okay with the names I'm about to read, then you could just make a motion as suggested. So the names are, it's a combination of at-large community members and also members of our existing boards and commissions. So I'll start with the at-large members. Those names are Tammy O'Sullivan, Tom O'Neill, Jeanette, Harpold, Lisa Springer, David Weirs, Scott Lambert, Board of Supervisors appointee, Janet Shearer, Open Space Committee appointee, John Lawmer, Planning Commission appointee, Aaron Tedesco, Park and Recreation appointee, Reuben Garrett, Historical Commission appointee, and the following alternate members should their counterpart be unable to attend a committee meeting: Nancy Dorr, Historical Commission alternate, and Gail Keyes, Park and Recreation alternate. So as I mentioned, if those names are all right, I'd suggest a motion to appoint those individuals to the Master Planning Committee for the duration.
Clinton, I'll give it to you since you and I were on the interview committee, which I'll add that there were a lot of really, really good candidates.
Really,
It was hard. A lot of great people came out for this. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. I will make a motion to approve and appoint the Ridley Springs Farm Master Planning Committee members as read by Catherine.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it's ratified.
Thank you. All right, I think the next one's mine too. So, speaking of appointments, the Environmental Advisory Council received an application from a resident by the name of Ray Braun. They've interviewed this individual, and the Environmental Advisory Council is recommending Ray Braun be appointed for a term of 3 years to serve on that committee.
Peter, you want to make a motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to, to approve Ray Braun to fill the vacant seat on the Environmental Advisory Committee for the remainder of the term of 3 years till February 11th, 2029.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And passes 3-0. Moving on, Zach, are you going to lead us here?
Yeah, I'm not going to lead you very far. We actually received word prior to the meeting, just before the meeting actually, that some additional funds have been made available for the Moores Road sidewalk project. We need to figure out what that means from, I'll say, an administrative standpoint, how those funds are applied to inspection services and other things to, I'll say, satisfy or navigate the grant program requirements. So with all that to say, we understand that there's about an additional $200,000 that are going to be applied to the project. We need to see that in writing. We need to see that confirmed. We need to sort through the logistics. But with all that said, I think 3I and 3J, 2 out of the 3 Bowman proposals should be tabled until next month, until we have a chance to sort through that.
Okay. I understand they'll be tabled. Very good.
Zach, when can we expect ground to be broken for this elaborate sidewalk to be
It's
built?
very elaborate, rather
So
expensive
elaborate, I
sidewalk.
Don't even know what I'm reading. in these
Highly
reports.
examined by various agencies and third parties.
The-
Peter
I was
will
under the
be-
impression-
Peter will have to be running for another term by
Yeah.
the time that happens.
You're going to need re-upped.
Please don't
Um,
say that. That's so long out.
I was under the impression that this was going to be put out to bid this spring. It may not be that it's this spring and maybe later this summer, but that's part of what we need to sort out with some of these new. More money is good, but as you've gathered from some of these programs, it comes with a lot of strings. So I'm optimistic we can still get out to bid and maybe get in the ground this year, but I'll have a better answer next month.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Zach, do you want to continue?
I'm going to kick it over to John for this one.
This next one's mine. This is accepting the proposal for engineering services for the Green Light Go grant that we just received. This is a design, bid, and selection. So it's the whole project for $28,000.
What will the, asking for the general audience, what will this do to improve that intersection?
That equipment at that intersection is the oldest in the township, so it's all new controllers. The mast arm up there gets replaced, the one that's really old, it's on that actual concrete store stand. And it's pedestrian improvements through the whole intersection.
Any questions from the public on this one?
John, you gotta hit your mic on. There you go.
Clinton, would you like to make a motion for the proposal?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposal from Bowman Engineering Services for the Green Light Go Grant project at Route 30 and 401 in the amount of $28,800.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And passes. Thanks, John. Catherine, I think you're going to step in here, put on your financial hat pertaining to the bank depository change.
Hopefully I'll do Dave justice here, so bear with me. But I was involved heavily in this process, and as was Steve too, so I can speak to this. So we, led by the finance department, specifically Dave Grady, we completed a review of the township's current banking relationships over the last year or so, and also spent extensive time evaluating alternative institutions. Several banks were interviewed as part of that process. They were Univest, Santander, First Resource Bank, and Truemark Financial. So we got a good response to the call for alternative banking services. Some of our concerns with utilizing KeyBank, which is the township's financial institution right now, have been outlined to the board, but generally speaking, their online platform's somewhat cumbersome. There's a lot of fees the township is charged, and also there's additional accounts that are not necessary. So something that Dave's been working on with Marco through the finance department has been to try to streamline some of our banking and also cut down significantly on our fees. So after going through several rounds of interviews, we're prepared to recommend the township switch to First Resource Bank as the township's primary financial institution. We will maintain relationships and also in terms of diversifying where deposits are made and funds are kept with other financial institutions such as Pliget. We're not closing any of those accounts. This is just to move over the accounts from Key Bank to First Resource. Some of the highlights from what they propose is that they are committed to match the Pliget class interest rate, which is significant. There's also no fees and no account analysis charges, which should save the township at least $10,000 a year in fees, and no minimum balance requirements. I'll just speak from my professional experience. This is more in line with what we might typically expect to receive from being a municipal client. So this is more in line with what's expected in the market. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So First Resource will basically be the main bank with day-to-day
That's right.
banking activities.
Yep, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the township has essentially for our general fund, this will be the primary institution that checks will come from, and we also have a general fund with Pliget. But generally speaking, First Resources would be the main depository.
Yep.
Okay, please thank Dave for his research and work and
Yeah, he
getting
worked
this.
very hard on this, so I'll certainly pass that along.
Any questions from the public? The board? Clinton, would you like to make a motion on I or L?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 16-2026, naming additional bank as depository.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And passes. Moving on. Greg, you've got another project here on the Chevy Tahoe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I promise this is my last thing for this evening, I hope. With the addition of the deputy fire chief's position, I'm asking the board to consider the purchase of a 2026 Chevy Tahoe from Tawanda Chevrolet in the amount of $52,832. CoStar's pricing that does not include the upfit, which is approximately $40,000. With the addition of the deputy chief, we have a Ford Explorer at the station, which we consider our station car. It's not four-wheel drive. We were not able to use it in the recent winter storm, and it's not upfitted with all the incident command functions, the computer, and other various things to hold the tools necessary for the deputy chief, like the vehicle that I use on a daily basis. With the position being approved at the very end of budget season, I wasn't able to get that in the capital budget for 2026. So I'm asking the board to consider that purchase of $52,832 CoStars, and then I will be presenting a later quote with the upfit cost for that vehicle.
Greg, just to clarify for everybody, my understanding is that you have a well-equipped vehicle that you have all 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And so on weekends or whatever, when you unfortunately get calls, you use that vehicle to attend events. Right?
Yeah.
And that would be the same thing for the lieutenant.
Yeah, even though we both work a day work schedule Monday through Friday, we're essentially on call 24/7, 365. So if there's a large fire in the township and a serious incident in the township, there's oftentimes that we have to come back to the township to either investigate the incident or help manage the incident. Right. So it's not a vehicle that can be at the station and be picked up. It's where we are and we come back to the area.
And the benefit for keeping the existing station vehicle, which I believe is scheduled to could remain with us for another 2 years?
Yeah, that vehicle is a 2020. It's due to be replaced in 2028. That vehicle is used for staff members that are going back and forth to training. They'll come down and pick it up, take it to a training class. They'll take it to their annual physicals, random drug testing, and various other. If we have to take an apparatus to a dealership in Westchester. We'll use that vehicle to go out and retrieve the crew and bring them back. So there's various things that that vehicle is used for. That vehicle is also there for when myself, the assistant fire marshal, the vehicles are in for service or repair. We have another vehicle to hop into temporarily that we can still get the calls with.
Clinton, Peter, any
My
specific
my
questions?
questions would be more to staff of where will this money come from, Steve?
Well, it'll come from capital. I mean, we do have, I'm sorry.
I got mine.
Yeah, it will come from capital. I mean, that's where the money is. We have substantial funds in there. I mean, we have an ambitious list of projects that as we do discuss with the board on an annual basis, and they're not all going to happen in 2026. Some of them may never come to fruition. So, I mean, that's where the money would come from.
Any other questions, Clinton?
No.
Any questions from the public? And we kind of talked about also the concept of maybe having the station vehicle sell early, but you described to me that there's enough functions at this point in time, and the value of that station vehicle is not that substantial to warrant
Yeah.
getting rid of it.
Sorry. At this time, we see value in still keeping that vehicle for the 2 more years that its expected life. And at that point, we would like to reevaluate exactly at that time what our needs are and what type of vehicle that would be best suited to replace that vehicle with. I thought about different avenues. I think it's foolish for us to, if we would have to upfit that current station car, it would probably cost us still $30,000 or $40,000 to bring it up to upfit. And I don't feel that's fiscally responsible with it being towards the end of its lifetime. So my recommendation would be, if we can, to purchase the new vehicle and then keep this one for the 2 more remaining years, and then evaluate at that time what the future vehicle looks like.
Okay. I know you and I talked about it on numerous occasions, tried different ideas about it, but I'm at this point in time okay. If you gentlemen are okay, would you like to make a motion?
I'm fine with it. I'd be okay with making a motion if you are. Yeah. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2026 Chevrolet Tahoe from Tawanda Chevrolet in the amount of $52,832. CoStar pricing, not including the upfit.
And the upfit cost is an additional $40,000.
I guess we'll approve that
Yep.
when that bill comes along, correct?
Yeah, I'm working on the quotes now. I need one more quote, and then I'll have it all compiled, and I'll share it with Steve and the board.
Okay. Clinton, you want to make a
Yeah.
motion? Or
Yeah, I'll
second
second
motion?
it. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
And you're good.
And Peter, just to follow up, I just had another thought. With capital, you know, those are our best guesses and estimates. And so sometimes projects come in less, sometimes we get more grant money. So the money is available, but Greg is right in pointing out that it was not in the budget.
And I understand that. I just was wondering where it was coming from. I understand we came into a $1.7 million surplus at the end of our fiscal year last year, so it's not a question if we have it or don't have it. It's just where is it coming from? Thank you.
Thank you to the board, and I appreciate all your help with the ceremony and everything this evening. If you don't mind, I'm going to step out of the meeting and go down to the fire station for pictures and some other things.
Absolutely. We
Thank
don't
you
see
all.
in that suit that often. Go get some pictures.
Yeah, right. We want cake.
Moving on to N, I don't know if Donna or Chris, combination.
Okay, this is, we're actually asking for
Fire.
approval. Let me find my papers, I'm sorry. We're asking for approval for a new security system and cameras. As everybody might know or not know, our cameras and security did not work for about 6 weeks. So we had prop doors opened. We got it working. It's really not a fabulous workaround, but it's working. And this had been on the budget, and this was approved. We got 3 different estimates, and the highest was $99,000. One person never got back to us for a quote, and Go-To Tech was $56,463.57 with a monthly fee of $385. And that includes, sorry, thank you. That includes, as you saw in the packet, it includes all the cameras, the access codes, the fobs for this building and for Public Works, not the firehouse, correct?
And,
Or the firehouse.
and the call boxes for
Yes.
to let people in and
The access.
so that we can talk to them when they're in the lobby and so forth.
So we're getting a whole new,
It's a whole new brand new system.
whole upgrade. Everyone's getting new fobs.
All new cameras, all new fobs,
Wow.
all new, keys to release, how you hear the big sound releasing the door. That's going to be different. There'll be little cameras. I'll have one in my office, and the ladies in admin over there will have one to let people in, since we don't have anybody at the front desk, and it's not really secure anyway, so.
We did keep a few of the cameras that were the nicer ones. We have some
Yeah.
really nice ones. So we kept several of those that were worth keeping.
And if I recall, some of the other interesting aspects of it as well is that we can use Wi-Fi and place some of the cameras in some of our park locations for protection.
Eventually, possibly, but this doesn't have anything to do with the park at this point in time.
Okay, so
This
that
is
would be,
just
that's
for
an
the
add-on.
buildings. That's going to be an add-on down the line, and that's a very good possibility. I think they were discussing it, were you not?
John?
John?
Yeah.
He said
We wanted
yes.
to get this company approved
Right,
before we moved ahead. We didn't
Right.
want to talk to different people.
okay. Once we approve that, I think it makes sense to find other ancillary benefits that they have to,
Yes.
can provide us for those.
What was our former monthly fee for our cameras? What was that?
So we paid a monthly fee before, or not even a monthly fee, it was an annual fee. And it was roughly $1,600 a year. So that's a difference, but the problem is,
It is, but
Yeah, that's
they
the
didn't
problem.
work.
and it was very difficult, and I don't know exactly what we paid, because when we brought them in, it cost a lot of money. They didn't seem to know what they were doing half of the time, and they were on the phone while we're paying $175 an hour. They're on the phone with somebody else, and they weren't very responsive. So we just can't have the things that happen. So that's why we looked at several other companies, and in order to get the things that we need to make it efficient and reliable, this is what it costs.
Yes.
Is this a one-year contract? I can't tell.
It's a 3, wasn't
Was
it?
it 3 or 2? I might be getting mixed up with the,
It's in the packet, I'm not sure. I don't
36
have it in
months, I
front
just
of
spotted
me.
it.
Okay.
It's in the small print,
Okay.
3 years. Okay,
Yes.
I'm okay going forward, gentlemen.
You got it?
I want to make a motion to approve the access control and video surveillance with Go-To Tech in the range of $56,463.57 with a monthly fee of $385.
I'll second that.
One important thing I forgot to say, it actually went down $500.
Oh,
Should we
I didn't
subtract
add it in
it?
there, but it went down yesterday.
So it's 55,963.
So you're approving it for more, but it's really going to be less.
You found that coupon in your pocket.
Yes, I did.
we
Don't
tried
you
to find a
remember? That's
buy
right.
one, get one free, but we didn't have it. Couldn't find
We
one.
tried.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
aye.
And passes.
Thank you.
All right, I will turn this portion under letter O to Bernadette to describe this activity.
Yes, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the settlement agreement and mutual release buy-in between Environmental Engineering and Management Associates, Inc., Blooming Glen Contractors, Inc., Green Fig Land, Whiteland Holdings LP, Whiteland Holdings GP LLC, and East Whiteland Township. This is related to the payment for decommissioning of the Malvern Hunt wastewater treatment system, including the approved sewage treatment facility closure plan and the removal of the mechanics lien claim in the Court of Common Pleas of Chester County, docket number 2022-09040 ML, against the real property owned by East Whiteland Township located at 800 Sweetsford Road. Just for an explanation of this, as part of a zoning hearing board decision, Green Fig was doing the, as indicated in the motion, the decommissioning of the Malvern Hunt wastewater treatment system on the 800 Sweetsford Road, which property is owned by East Whiteland Township. There was a dispute between the owner and the two contractors, Environmental Engineering and Blooming Glen. Blooming Glen did file a mechanics lien claim against property owned by the township. At this time, all the parties have reached a settlement agreement. The settlement agreement is part of your package. The township has not paid any legal fees in reference to this. This has been paid by the owners, and the mechanics lien against the township property is to be removed as part of this settlement and mutual release agreement. So at this time, what we're asking for is a motion to approve that settlement agreement and mutual release. Again, the township's not paying any money for this. The other parties have come to an agreement about the amount of money to be paid to the contractors for the work they did decommissioning the sewer lagoons on the township property, which was an obligation as part of a zoning hearing board approval of Green Figs.
And just to be clear, that this litigation occurred without any employees of East Whiteland Township being involved with the process, other than to oversee the requirements by the zoning aspect of it.
Yeah, the decommissioning was done, Green Fig hired Environmental Engineering and Management, who then subcontracted to Blooming Glen. That work was done on as required by Green Fig for that zoning hearing board decision. That work, that's who they hired, that's who did the work. The township didn't do the work. The township's not making any payment under this settlement mutual release. The other parties are agreeing to a payment. We just need the mechanics lien removed from the township property where the sewer lagoons were located.
Okay. I'm good.
I don't know if anybody else has any other questions or any questions from the audience. I know it's a long item on the agenda.
I think you, gentleman, has a question.
As I understand it, we went through a lot of litigation, or they went through a lot of litigation. We pretty much came out unscathed from all the...
And pretty much came out with this settlement agreement,
Yeah.
yes. And again, township's not paying anything. We just needed the removal of that mechanics lien against the township property.
You've got a resident.
I got a question.
Sure, could you come on up?
Yeah, sure. I live in Malvern Hunt, okay? And my name's Dennis Swarden. I live in Malvern Hunt. Peter, thank you for getting back to me. So this land where the Malvern Hunt sewage system was at was owned by East Whiteland, and now we're going to forfeit that property to the people that are putting in the data center?
No. The township owns that property, 800 Sweetsford Road.
Okay.
As part of a zoning hearing board decision, there was a condition of approval that Green Fig clean up the sewer lagoons on the township property. So the
Okay.
township didn't do the work.
I understand that.
Right, and we still own the property. We just need the mechanics lien that was filed to come off the property.
Then I disagree with us giving that property back. It's our property.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to see a bridge go through there to the data center. Okay?
Well, that's not what this settlement agreement's about. It was the decommissioning of the sewer lagoons. That's what
Okay.
this settlement agreement.
But you're saying we own the property and we're going to give the property to somebody else? Is that what you're saying?
No. There was, as part of a zoning hearing board decision, a condition imposed upon Green Fig to
Yep.
decommission the sewer lagoons on property owned by the township.
I understand
So instead
that.
of the township doing the work, Green Fig did the work.
Okay.
There was a dispute amongst Green Fig and their contractor and subcontractor. As part of that dispute, Blooming Glen, one of the subcontractors, filed what's called a mechanics lien for work done on the township property. We didn't pay for the work, but the work was done on the township property, so they filed a mechanics lien against the township property. This settlement, the owners, Green Fig and Blooming Glen and Environmental Engineering, have come to a settlement about what they're to be paid and who's to pay what. The township's not paying anything. We're part of this settlement agreement because we want the mechanics lien off our property, off the township property.
So we own that property, is what you're saying?
Yes. we've
Okay.
always owned- Yeah.
I disagree with giving that property back.
I
I don't agree with what you're saying. I don't agree with it.
The
Well, we want
property
the
will
mechanics
continue to be
lien
made.
removed
That
from-
property, if that property was owned by East Whiteland, then we keep it. And we do not let them take it and put a bridge across.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify, the property will continue to be owned by the township.
We're just
The property will not be ceded, sold, or otherwise to the developer of the data center.
Okay, so how are they going to put a bridge across there then?
They have
I
an
was here.
easement through
I
that
was here at the
property.
last meeting.
Yeah, they have an easement through that property, but the property will continue to be owned by the township.
So why did we give them an easement to use that land? What are we getting for that?
This predates the current proposal. There were previous proposals on that property in the past for a continuing care facility. You may be familiar with that plan from previous
You
approvals.
guys sold us out, is what you did. We bring in a lot of real estate money in that township, East Whiteland, or in our development. There's 289 homes there. You tell me another development in our township that brings in more tax money than ours. You tell me. What value is there to our township putting that data center in? And I know I'm probably off subject here, but I don't agree with what we're doing.
Yeah, my recommendation to the board is we need that mechanics lien removed from this property and to approve this settlement agreement to get that mechanics lien off that property. That
Okay,
was-
I don't agree with that.
Can I make a motion?
We out of your,
Unless there's any other questions, yes, I'm looking just for the motion to approve that settlement mutual release agreement.
Peter, you want to make a motion? It's back to us.
Oh my God, do I have to read the whole paragraph?
Yeah. Why don't you-
Bernadette, what do I have to read for the motion?
I'm sorry?
What do I have to read for the motion?
I would just ask that you say a motion to approve the settlement agreement mutual release as set forth in O. You don't have to name
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, thank you, Bernadette. I'd like to make a motion to approve the mutual settlement agreement as set forth in letter O of the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the settlement agreement is passed.
Thank you.
Zach, turn this P over to you if you're ready.
Sure, yeah, if it's all right with the board, I'd actually like to suggest that we take the first item here under 6A, I, and 1 and 2.
Delta.
Oh, yeah, did we skip one? I'm sorry.
Yep. P? This would be our Delta retainer.
Yeah, there's a few items before you get to me, sorry about that.
Yeah, the item P, 3P, is for Delta Development, which has been a township consultant for the last few years that has helped us bring in the grants that we discussed earlier, and Catherine gave a report on. For example, just the Route 30 project, they've helped bring in close to $9 million just for that one project. They've also been instrumental in bringing in hundreds of thousands, if not millions more for other projects in the township. And this is the monthly retainer fee for use of their services is $5,500, and we have a new contract extension for 1 year that's before the board.
It's not clear here. Yep. All right, Peter, would you like to make a motion?
Yes,
If-
thank you, Mr.
Unless someone has a question pertaining to this agreement. Seeing none,
Just like to make a motion to approve, to retain Delta as our consultant for the monthly fee of $5,500 for the fiscal year 2026,
I
beginning
second.
March 1st.
Yep.
Sorry.
I second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Clinton, can you hear you?
Aye.
Okay. Passes 3-0. All right, Zach, now I'll turn it over to planning and development.
Nah, I think we still have a couple more items.
What? I mean, what? He's talking, you're talking.
No, we're right here.
All right, we've got one more situation where we need to make a motion,
Yep, this is for,
and you're going to give us the details, John.
right, the list, the road,
For
where it's the, asking for approval to advertise for the 2026 paving list. Your list was in the packet. This is 4A. So this is the 2026 paving list.
Any
No.
oversight?
No, we gave you the list of roads, but we also conditioned it with, once everything falls out, that could change. A couple of the streets could change, depending on,
Okay,
That's
What
pretty
happens?
fair because it's been a rough winter.
right.
yeah, should be interesting. Clinton, would you like to make a motion on 4A?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve to advertise for the 2026 road paving project list that is included in the packet.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you.
Thanks, John. Turn it back over to Bernadette on a public hearing.
Yes, I'm going to ask that we go into a public hearing, and this is a public hearing for ordinance number 375, the adoption of the 2021 Uniform Construction Code. I'm going to read briefly the legal notice. Notice is hereby given that on February 11th, 2026, at 6:30 p.m. at the East Whiteland Township Municipal Building located at 209 Conestoga Road, Fraser, PA, the Board of Supervisors of East Whiteland Township shall hold a public hearing on, and immediately thereafter at the public meeting will consider adoption of the following ordinance. An ordinance amending the code of the Township of East Whiteland, Chapter 65, Building Construction, to adopt the Uniform Construction Code 2021 edition with certain additions, insertions, and changes to standards. This includes the International Building Code, 2021 International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Plumbing Code, International Mechanical Code, International Existing Building Code, the International Fuel Gas Code, the 2020 National Electric Code, 2021 International Urban Wildland Interface Code, with certain, again, as indicated, insertions and changes and additions to the standards, which are all set forth in the legal notice. The 2021 is the latest. It is that Pennsylvania has adopted. It was effective January 1st of this year. And I'm going to mark a series of exhibits. B1 is the January 9th, 2026 email and letter to Penny Myers at the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry with the attached legal notice and proposed ordinance. B2 is the January 9th, 2026 letter to Joe Marciano, Coded Administrator at the PA Department of Labor and Industry with the attached legal notice and proposed ordinance. B3 is the January 19th, 2026 email and letter to the Daily Local News with the legal notice and proposed ordinance. B4 is the January 20th, 2026 email and letter to the Law Library with a copy of the attested proposed ordinance. B5 is the proof of publication on January 23rd, 2026, and B6 is the proposed ordinance. Again, Pennsylvania finally adopted the 2021 editions of all these. I know it seems like it's a little odd because it's 2026, but they do it in 3-year increments, and they've only just recently gotten to 2021. So we updated our codes. Catherine and several of the employees at the township looked at these, decided which ones we were going to adopt, if we were going to make any changes, assertions, deletions, and that is all included in the ordinance. I don't know if anybody at the board members have questions or anyone in the audience has questions in reference to it.
I have no questions.
Hopefully a brief question. We had tabled UCC on the early part of the agenda.
There's an
with
intermunicipal agreement
intermunicipal
among
agreements.
certain
How does
townships.
that have to do with?
That's the Code Board of Appeals. So if you want to appeal something, the townships have a shared board, and that intermunicipal agreement, we were amending to include the property maintenance code, but one of the townships who we share that board with had some questions.
Okay. Thank you.
No questions?
Anyone in the audience have any questions? If not, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. We would go back to the public meeting, and I would ask for a motion to vote upon the ordinance.
Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Thank you, Chairman. Just a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we'll take a motion to approve the ordinance.
Just would like to make a motion to approve the ordinance number 375, adoption of the 2021 UCC.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Now I'll turn planning and development over to Zach.
Sure. Yeah, if it's all right with the board, I'd actually like to suggest that we take item 6A and allow the other applicants, following them to move ahead. They should require a little less discussion. I'd like the board to be able to focus on the discussion relevant to those first 2 items. And I think the others have been patiently waiting through some of the opening ceremonies here, we'll call it.
It's fine with me.
So the first item then would be, I'm sorry, what's up? All right, so then first item would be preliminary/final application at 370 Lancaster Avenue. It's the redevelopment of what's known as the importer or hybrid barn, or what the applicant is calling the dairy barner. Barner, not Barner. I'm Barner. This is a consideration to authorize drafting of an approval resolution for the following month's meeting. I believe the applicant's team is here to answer any questions. Generally speaking, the review letters are clean. There's a couple of items carried forward from the conditional use approval that the applicant has worked to satisfy. They've been before the Planning Commission, received their recommendation for approval, and they've received a positive recommendation from the Historic Commission as well. So with that, just from a procedural standpoint, I'll kick it over to the applicant to present anything they'd like clarification on or to explain, and give it to the board to ask any questions they may have.
Good evening, Brielle Brown with Kaplan Stewart. We are the firm that's representing the applicant. The applicant has submitted the final land development plans for this project, and we did present it to the board, I believe, in December. And the applicant, as Zach said, has been working with township staff after receiving those second round of review letters And we revised the plans based on those comments received from the township consultants, the fire marshal, and ultimately, as Zach said, a recommendation of approval for the requested waivers from the Township Planning Commission. I would largely agree that the review letters seem very clean from the applicant's purview. Largely, we believe it's detailing plan cleanups, working with outside agency approvals, and ultimately as well working with the township regarding the timing of dedication of some right-of-way. So to the extent we want to walk through those letters in more detail, we certainly can do that, but we are hoping that you authorize staff to draft a resolution. And I do have with me tonight Matthew Lombardi, who is a representative from Pinecrest, as well as Charles Dobson, which is our engineer.
Any questions, Clinton?
No.
I'm pretty comfortable.
No, I think we've seen this a number of times, and
Yes.
I think the conditions that Zach has put in and are agreeable on both sides.
Sure, so if it's the board's pleasure, we'll begin drafting a resolution that kind of encapsulates some of the ideas from the conditional use, any sort of outstanding or what I always call extracurricular kinds of things that maybe aren't directly code related. So we'll prepare that for consideration at the March meeting if that's the board's direction.
Yep, I guess if we can. We're doing a preliminary final approval.
That's how it's been resubmitted. This was discussed briefly at the Planning Commission. My perspective is that the plans have been designed to that level of detail. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. Certainly that's up to the board.
Any comments from the public on this project? We're including our famous conditions surrounding our sycamore tree in there, right?
That's correct. So a lot of that is encapsulated, as I said, in the conditional use decision. So we'll carry that forward, and anything that we need to be spelled out, we'll talk with Mr. Lombardi. We talked about repurposing of some of the wood from the trees. I think there's a couple of ideas that have been thrown out for that, including benches and other sort of site amenities. So certainly we can discuss that in more detail and try to iron out who's responsible for what, and outline that, at least in general terms, in the approval resolution.
Would you like to make a motion?
Here we go. There's the microphone. I'd like to make a motion to approve authorizing a resolution of approval for preliminary final of 370 Lancaster Avenue, the redevelopment of parcel LD-03-2025, owned by Pencrest Properties. Do I have a second?
A second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And passes.
Thank you.
So the next item here is a request for a waiver of land development related to a solar field project by Immaculata University. I believe the applicant's team is here to present. Essentially, we have some very basic requirements in our code related to this. We have had it reviewed by our fire marshal's office. We've initiated at least some initial commentary by our building code official. The basic zoning compliance requirements are in compliance, but if the applicant would like to present the plan sort of generally, we can certainly answer any questions.
Good evening, Rob Lambert, Site Engineering Concepts here on behalf of the applicant. The sisters are proposing to, construct a solar field. to supply about 50% of the power to Camilla Hall, which is just adjacent, so just on the right-hand side. So you can see the purple area in the center of the plan. That is the area of the proposed solar field. And to the right is Camilla Hall. So they're proposing to supply the power, about 50% of the power to that building. This location isn't really visible from the public way, so you can't really see it from King Road or Fraser Road. So it's mainly internal to the campus. And then there's one small project related, not really related to this, but since we were here, they're proposing to relocate or create a replica of an existing grotto. So it's an area where the sisters go, and it's really the location now is inaccessible for many of the sisters, so we're moving or creating a new location for that, which will be an accessible place where they can go. But happy to answer any questions about either project.
No, I think it's a perfect place for a solar field, open field in front of it facing south, and you really be hard pressed to see that from King or Fraser Road, that's for sure. How many, if you know, how many square feet is the hall it's powering?
Approximately 150,000 feet.
Gotcha. That's a very big building.
And at this point, everybody in the area that might be affected, residents have had some type of notification?
So there's not a notification requirement for land development or waiver of land development applications. There's no variances or anything like that. Normally, neighbor notice is triggered by a zoning hearing board application under our code. So there has been no neighbor notification.
And that's by code. We don't have to notify anybody.
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
All right. Okay. I don't have any other questions. To make a motion?
This seems like a great project. I'd love to make a motion to approve a resolution for WLD-092025 for the Immaculata University Solar Field and Grotto relocation by Sisters Servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And passes.
So we'll begin drafting that. It'll be on for a formal approval next month. It'll just have some basic conditions about having to obtain permits.
Thank you.
The next item here is
Ski resort?
it's a request to
Lou,
modify.
is it going to be called Lou's Hill? Is it a rope tow or T-bar?
Hopefully this will be brief. Lou Colagreco representing Greystar. We ran this by Zach and the staff and a couple of you folks previously. On the screen to my left, this involves the northernmost part of the apartment development that's now going on Route 29. There's an area that's undeveloped, and on the left is what is the approved grading plan with landscaping. On the right is the modified grading plan with landscaping. Essentially, there's a soil pile that you've seen, the ski slope up there, which is going to be removed over the next 60 days gradually. And Zach, if you go to the next slide, I'll show you what's going to happen. The area in the green right there is now a depression under the approved plan. The area in red is what will be the top of the site. Soil is going to be taken from there, placed in the green area to make it more even with the red area, and then the bulk of the remaining soil in the soil pile is going to be used throughout the site, as is always going to be, to backfill retaining walls and whatnot. The Chester County Conservation District has already approved the change. It was run by the township engineer. He had no objection to it. But Zach thought it would be prudent, because that pile's been there for a long time, and I know you guys are probably getting questions about where's it going and when is it going, but that's the game plan. The amount of landscaping, and if you go on, the views from 29 will be exactly the same as they were with the approved plan. That's the view looking northbound on 29 towards the top of the site. That's the view southbound on 29. That's the bike trail, walking trail that's going to be installed. None of that changes. None of that landscaping changes. It's just a matter of taking this excess soil and putting it in that, what I'll call a depressed area of the site. There's not much more to it than that.
I would just add, just for Peter and Clinton's knowledge, I asked the question with the excess amount of dirt, if there was any usage within the township, that could we use it? And it was pointed out to me that if we end up having any changes or bring that soil into different areas, we are also subject to the Conservation District approval. So I thought perhaps we could use it somewhere else, but not the case. So it's
you know, you would think in the old days you could have done that, but now
but you can't.
now you can. I mean, it seems like it's not that complicated a deal, obviously. And 30 years ago, you would have dump trucks come up there, take the dirt. Where do you want the dirt? I'm sure it was done all over East Whiteland, West Whiteland, Tredyffrin, everywhere, but not anymore.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, do you have any other questions? Clinton, you want to make a motion? I'm okay with this.
I'd like to make a motion to the modification to approved plan for and grading permit LD-05-2023 for the grading plan and revision of the Grace Star Apartments Phase 1 of Great Valley.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for moving the agenda. Sorry, guys.
Chris, I bought you the we're having trouble set me up.
Through paper. Which one's the right one?
Just point to it. That one.
All right, try it through paper.
Okay. Last item here before we cycle back to the first two items is just a final release of financial security for the community center done by Great Valley Community Organization, or GVCO. This is a release of the remaining $41,000 or so in a cash escrow. This has been, substantially complete for a few years. There are some future phases that are yet to be undertaken. So the site's been inspected. There's no reason to continue holding this. One suggestion from staff would be to condition this release on preparation of as-builts. Essentially, plans that are prepared after a project's complete to reflect what was actually built in case there was any deviations from the approved plan. It's just a normal course of business, really, but we feel like that's important for a project like this, that there were some adjustments made in the field, very minor things, but it allows us to have a better snapshot of what was actually constructed out there.
So you want to make some type of adjustment to the wording?
Yeah, I guess my suggestion would be that to authorize the final release contingent upon preparation of as-built plans. And we can coordinate.
As-built?
Yeah, AS-built.
Okay.
And we'll coordinate with Tom Curran from GVCO on that aspect.
Okay. Any questions from anyone pertaining to the release of those funds? Seeing none. Peter, would you like to make a motion?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to release the financial security contingent upon as-built for the Great Valley Community Organization in the amount of $41,268.01.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Is that good?
Yeah, I think that captures it. Yeah. And it passes. Thank you. Okay. Andy, thanks for being patient.
So first item here, and before I kick it over to the applicant, the first one is the written decision for the conditional use related to 52 East Swedesford. It's an amended conditional use of a previously approved plan to introduce quote-unquote workforce housing. This is, these would be apartment units that are targeted at a certain income range based on the area median income. Rent adjustments are made to accommodate the income of those residents. The applicant was here for a hearing on January 5th. All of the findings of fact and testimony are encapsulated in the decision. There are about 19 conditions of approval that further clarify aspects of the plan. Many of them have to do with how the buildings would be operated, restrictions on subleasing, a cap on the number of leases to corporate entities because we've experienced issues with that in other facilities in the township. So without reading all 19, we did try to capture as much of, I'll say, these types of issues as we could. The applicant, as I understand it, has agreed to all the conditions of the conditional use. There are reference to certain aspects from the land development, but for the purposes of this agenda item, we'll handle the land development approval separately. If there's anything that Andy or his attorney would like to speak to relative to the conditional use, I certainly give them the floor. But otherwise, I think this is in a position to be executed by the board.
Ron Callion from Fox Rothschild here on behalf of the applicant and property owner. To echo Zach, we're okay with the decision as written, and we've gone back and forth on the conditions. We're okay with the conditions as presented. And I'd like to thank the township and the planning staff for working with us through this project, to get it to this point.
It's been a little bit of a long road, but
A little bit,
we're
almost
getting there.
2 years. I'm like
Yeah.
looking back at the dates, it was like, ooh. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
It really does. I don't have any questions for you.
Zach, any other updates or any concerns at all at this point in time? I know we talked about it this afternoon.
Well, that's a lot of maneuvering just to say, no, I don't have any further comments. I think it's all pretty well spelled out in this decision.
Okay. Any questions from the public? No? And you want to make another motion?
Sure. Mayor.
Yeah, you.
Okay, very good. Sure, I'd like to make, this would be, Zach, this would be to make a motion to approve the amended conditional use, correct?
Yep, the written decision.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the rendered decision to amend conditional use to introduce workforce housing. It's written decision for 52 East Weedsford Road, CU-06-2025.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And passes.
So next item here then is the corresponding land development application for this project. It was submitted as a combined preliminary final land development application at the January 5th meeting following the conditional use hearing, the board directed staff and the solicitor's office to prepare a land development resolution. It's lighter on conditions than you might see in most applications, much of which is because it's outlined in the conditional use application. So it didn't need to be quite as detailed. The one item I would say that you probably noticed in the documents in the board packet is that there are some placeholder language within that draft regarding park and rec fees associated with the project. So I believe the applicant is just this afternoon or this evening prepared a summary of their estimate of what that fee should be. I've not had a chance to review it in detail. I was looking at it, at the beginning of the meeting here, and we can certainly walk through that. In the meantime, staff prepared a summary of what we feel what would normally be the calculated fee or the credits to the fee based on the available information shown on the plans, more or less consistent with how it's been addressed on other projects. We've updated the resolution to reflect what would be that remaining fee and what would be encapsulated in the credits. I can certainly bring that up on the screen to discuss. I also like to give the applicant the opportunity to at least at a high level walk through their opinion of what that fee should be. Maybe we come to an agreement here tonight, maybe we don't, but I would like to give the applicant at least the opportunity to describe.
Sure, that's fine, and yeah, we do recognize that we did, send that written analysis over to you, about an hour before the hearing. We did have discussions prior on, but before we get into any of that, honestly, because we think the summary is clear enough and short enough, I think it would be a good idea if maybe we gave the board and you folks an opportunity to review it before we have any discussion. Based upon our analysis, you may agree with us or wish to counter, where we could save a lot of time and back and forth. And we have copies of it with us if you don't have.
Yeah, why don't you hand out the copies? I'll work on bringing it up on the screen. Is your suggestion that we would take a recess to review the documents?
Yeah, I think it's worth a couple minutes to give the board some time to review it, kind of get a sense of where we're coming from before we get into any discussion. Separate and apart from the fee, I believe there were some outstanding minor comments from some of the township's consultants. I believe our consultants in our design team responded to those in written format and with some changes to the plan in the meantime. We have representatives from Howell Engineering and Architectural Concepts here with us this evening, in addition to Mr. Hicks. So depending upon how you want to handle it, you want to handle the fee issue first, or any of the other items with regards to the plan, technical aspects, I guess. We don't think there are any outstanding issues. We think it's in a position for approval pending this issue on the rec fee.
So I'll defer to the board on how they'd like to walk through it. I think at a high level, at least from a staff perspective, there are comments outstanding in the last round of reviews. I think they are mostly cleanup, more easily addressed. I have no doubt that they could be clarified before a plan would be recorded. There are some aspects that I think that highlight some, I'll say, conflicts in the ordinance, in the sense that the fire code requires one drive aisle width, whereas the Saudo requires another. In my opinion, fire code prevails because there's an operational requirement related to that, putting out outriggers and things like that. So I think based on what they've provided, they're able to achieve either. So my suggestion would be to allow the fire code requirements to prevail in that regard. At a high level, I think probably all these issues can be addressed, but to the extent that you'd like the applicant to kind of walk through what those issues are, to clarify them, fully support that. I do think the fee is sort of the one that requires a little more discussion.
If you want to run through it.
Sure, we could have our, someone from our design team to, address some of the issues that, again, I think they were very minor, but.
I want to see what your counter is.
So at 2,900 and 250 units.
So Zach, I'm going to address
That's,
the drive aisle, the 25 and the 26 foot.
that's our
My civil engineer submitted both plans
typical amount.
showing a 25 and a 26. Our recommendation is we thought the 25 was better, but the 26 is achievable. So, we were just kind of putting that out there as something maybe they would just take a look at, and if they felt like 25 worked, then we would prefer that, but we can do either one. It's certainly not anything that's going to hold up land development approval. We've shown both plans, so we don't have to draw something or we're not sure about anything. It's been done.
Yeah, I think they had a supplemental sheet that showed it can still be achieved. It doesn't create any sort of knock-on effects. Sometimes a foot or two can really make a difference on a site plan. It seems like it's achievable, but we would just have to have that fully vetted, post-approval. I don't think there's any issue with that. I just want to clarify that I think that the fire code should be the prevailing code. And to the extent that the fire marshal's comfortable with 25, that's fine too, but I think there's a clear operational need that's related to that as opposed to some of our other requirements, which are just sort of a one-size-fits-all requirement, so to speak.
Do
you want to discuss any of the other
I mean, I think the only real other issues were what showed up in Tom Comita's letter, and I think both the civil engineer and the architect more than adequately addressed those. I don't know, did you feel like there was anything that wasn't addressed in those response letters?
No, I think the park and rec fee is kind of the last remaining item. I think the rest is cleanup. I don't think there's any major points of conflict or technical concerns, stormwater or otherwise, so.
Right, and my civil engineer called the conservation district today, and we believe that we're at the goal line. Basically, whenever their timeline produces an approval, we don't think there's any other issues outstanding. We've, had 3 rounds with them, and I think we're at the point now where we expect an approval any day.
For the NPDS permit, we're enrolled in the Chapter 102 pilot program through the Conservation District and DEP, which is an accelerated review, requires accelerated turnaround time on our part. But we did submit the plans back in September, October, got 1 round of comments in letter form, revised those, resubmitted those about the same time that we resubmitted to the township. From that submission, we got back just an email with a handful of comments with no resubmission fee, which is the extent of the comments. The fact that we didn't have to submit a resubmission fee is clear indication that we are at the goal line. So whatever the processing time for DEP and the Conservation District to process the permit, I think we're there. So within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, we will have our NPDS permit.
I did want to note one thing. This is, I guess, more of a code compliance thing. In the committa letter, there was a request to prepare a landscaping compliance chart showing, all the planted species relative to what the relevant code section is. I don't believe that's been provided at this point, but I think it's probably a relatively minor issue. If there's additional plantings required to satisfy either a zoning, SAUDO, or stormwater requirement, they would need to be applied to the plan. I imagine that if any, it's probably a relatively small number, but I just wanted to make that clear that that is one item that just needs to be clarified prior to recording of the plan or anything like that.
Yeah, the materials I sent over to you today on the 1 notes and detail sheet did have that compliance chart.
Okay.
And from my standpoint, I think the biggest landscaping area is the buffer. So around the site, along 202, along the 202 off-ramp, and along East Suites for that main buffer, that's where we have, besides the parking lot and the parking lot islands, that's where we have the majority of our plantings. The requirement, I believe, is a tree every 40 feet. We exceed that in terms of we have like a 25-foot spacing. So I think we're in good shape, and we provided the landscape compliance chart at the request of Mr. Committee just to show how we're complying, not just with that buffer, but with all aspects of the code, section 175 and section 200.
Yeah, and just to maybe clarify a little bit, the approval letter is written such that all outstanding comments and all the review letters be complied with. So, in other words, they have to comply with the comments that are out there. If there's a code compliance issue, if they have to add some plants, it sounds like that's probably not going to be an issue. It may not even be required. I just wanted to make sure it was clear, because that's probably the one thing that sounds like a lingering issue in the reviews.
Is the fire marshal issue an issue, or?
No, I don't believe so. I think it just
Okay.
requires the drive aisle to be widened by, essentially a total of a foot or 6 feet or 6 inches on each side.
Trying to find that again.
And
Sorry.
Zach, I was going to say that landscape plan, we have all the required plantings. I think the clarification is that Mr. Committa asked for maybe some additional varieties, and then also a chart that better showed what the actual trees were, which we've complied with.
Yeah.
Just with respect to the fire marshal, I've been coordinating with DJ. The 26-foot drive aisle, obviously the township code dictates 25 feet. When I saw the 26-foot comment in DJ's first letter, I wrongly assumed that 26-foot was for the maneuvering of the fire department vehicles through the development. When I showed that it was feasible to maneuver, I believe it's Tower 3 or Tower 54, I'm not sure, whatever, the largest fire truck in the East Whiteland Township arsenal. When I was able to show that, I, again, wrongly assumed that 25 was sufficient. What DJ clarified was it's not for the maneuvering of the tower truck, it is for the outriggers of the tower truck. So the 26-foot is critical, not in the access points, but in basically in front of the buildings where you would actually set up to use the ladder. They need that additional room to set the outriggers and then have access around those outriggers. So, but what we did is we have the plans, they're fully prepared for the 25-foot, but then we went back and did that offset on each side of 6 inches and showed that it didn't have any impact on stormwater drainage, on any sort of parking. Basically just showed it was completely feasible to do it. And in talking with DJ, he's hard and set on this 26-foot, so that's what we'll be going with. It's just, again, the township code calls out 25, then you have to look in the International Fire Code Appendix D to get the 26-foot, so.
I mean, that's what I saw in the letter. Okay. Good. Is that? Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it says in the letter. That's why are we doing this?
I'm not able to get any email, so I'm at a real disadvantage here, guys.
Okay. Do we want to discuss the park and rec fee?
That's what I'm trying to get to,
in the
documentation, which I can't.
So Andy, what you're saying is you're proposing 25, 2,600 instead of 29.45? Is that correct?
No, it's not.
I don't know, because I don't have the numbers in front of me. And I'm
Oh,
trying to get,
are
I have what you,
Are you talking about the park and rec fee?
Park and Rec fee, correct?
Yeah, so I just, so the first,
I know what we're proposing.
the first two are just
So this is
basically
what your
what
guys
the,
are
what the code requires.
Okay.
And then section 3 is basically saying what we're proposing to provide. We think we're best suited to provide all the recreational opportunities that the occupants of the apartments need. And that's why we've gone out of our way to propose above market recreational opportunities at the property. And we show we're spending a significant amount of money to provide that. So we have a 0.51 walking trail. We have open space. We have a third of an acre dog park, which is way larger than you would typically see. We have a larger than normal interior area for relaxation, outdoor games, a larger than normal swimming pool, a clubhouse area that's got a recreational opportunities in it. We have a fitness center that is, about 50% bigger than what we originally proposed. And we've upsized everything because when you look at the what the purpose of the fee in lieu is for, it's for the occupants of this apartment complex. And we think that the money is better, we would be better spending the money on site for these extra improvements as opposed to paying a larger fee in lieu to the township, who would then have to figure out how can they support recreational opportunities that are nearby, close to our property. It's pretty specific as to what the township can and can't do with the money. You're either acquiring ground nearby or you're building something for the benefit of those occupants. And like I said, we felt that it was worth spending more money and paying a lower fee in lieu than putting the money to the township and then having them trying to figure out what to do with it, because it can't be used for maintenance. So that's why our proposal, we show that, first of all, what it would look like if you go by code and use the 250 units. So that's section 1. And then section 2 is if you, we're privately subsidizing and paying for the construction of 30 workforce units at the request of Mr. Lambert a year ago, okay? He sort of challenged us to do that. We were trying to be good stewards and good citizens in the township. We spent about a year trying to make this happen at additional expense and everything. We think we have a good plan, and we think that it's going to be a great addition to the township. So we think that at the bare minimum, we would start with just 220 units. So basically take those 30 workforce units off the top. So when you do that, there's a 7-point-something acre requirement, which we can't fully meet. And then there's a dollar amount that's less than what the 250 units would be. When you take a look at what we're proposing to provide, and you take into account the money that we're putting into the workforce units, we believe, based on a couple different methodologies, which you'll find in section 4, A and B, that you could make the conclusion that we more than obtain or meet the purpose of the whole recreation and lieu fee to begin with, so potentially 0 fee. But what we're saying is that we're willing to, I think we put in there $100,000 to put a fee in lieu. So my question would be is, if it's more than that, what would the township actually do with that money that would benefit our project that we're not already doing and spending money at the property to do?
Well, I don't disagree. Maybe my other board members would, but I don't disagree about plucking out the 30 units of the workforce housing. I think that's very fair. And thank you for doing that. Workforce housing, that's going to be a great first for this township.
Sure.
I guess the questions I have are, is there a potential compromise for the?
Let me walk you through what I did this afternoon to try to
Oh, there it is.
provide
That's-
some.
Is this ours or theirs?
So on the right is what I prepared, and
Okay.
I'll just walk you through it, and then we can kick back over to what
Did
Andy
you say
prepared.
this was emailed to me?
This was not. This was
Okay.
prepared this afternoon because we had nothing else to use for comparison or to calculate a potential credit to the
So
fee.
Andy's seeing this for the first time too?
No, this was provided to Andy prior to the meeting. Yeah, this afternoon.
And I would say that some of your
You're tying our
measurements and
hands here.
takeoffs are, I'm going to say, not accurate.
I would say the same for yours, which is putting us all in a bit of an awkward position. So,
I'm more than happy to bring up my civil engineer.
sure. I'm more than happy to tell you where I got my numbers, and I think that's what I tried to do in this document.
Okay.
So I'm happy to walk you through.
Then we'll agree to disagree.
It sounds like it. So based on the calculations that are outlined in the code, basically requires 16,000 square feet of resident or recreation space per 10 units. So you take 16,000 times 25 if you use the full number of apartment units. That equates to 400,000 square feet of space. That's essentially what comes out to about 9 acres. And that's into a total of about 10 acres on their property. So clearly a very large number, the way this calculation works. If you take then, in the alternative, if you calculate a fee based on the way it's described in our fee schedule, which is $2,900 or so per unit, times 250 units, you get those two numbers there at the top. So it's 400,000 square feet of space or $730,000 of a fee in lieu. When I reviewed what they provided in the plans that were available to us, I measured the walking trail to include the area around the perimeter site, and I guess it would help if I pulled up a site plan that's noted as a trail. I did not include the portion that's shown as a sidewalk.
Okay.
I included the areas that are shown as passive recreation on their plan, which again, it'd probably helpful if I pulled up the plan. That includes the areas around the pool deck, the racket courts, and yard games. And I included the dog park, which is shown as 13,400 square feet. These are the things that seem to, excuse me? Okay, you can, I can't recalculate things. I'm just reviewing based on what the plans were. And you were aware that I told you that's not how it's shown on the plan. Why don't we pull up the site plan that shows these facilities so that it will help, I think, the board understand. I believe this is the exhibit packet you had sent, Andy, that you'd like to review.
Keep scrolling down. We have.
Yeah, it's later in the slides.
So there's two that show the recreation. If you go to the one above that one, go to the one above it. It'll show the trail.
Yep, sure.
Better
So
than what we have.
what I'm referring to is this is a site plan that kind of has leader lines showing, the racquetball court, which is essentially located here, the yard games, which are essentially located in this large pool deck area. The dog park is shown here in the corner, and then there's a trail that goes around the perimeter of the site and then ties into an existing sidewalk network and then into a proposed sidewalk network. So what I was trying to describe, and again, I'm not going to pretend to be an engineer, but what I can say is that the way the code is contemplated is it allows for certain passive or active recreation facilities to either be provided on site, or if they are provided on site in part, to count towards a credit towards the fee that we described at the top. What I'm using to prepare these calculations are things that are shown on the plans. So the dog park on the plans that we had before us was 13,000 square feet, 13,400 square feet. The rough calculation of the trail is measured approximately in this area, so about 1,400 linear feet. That is approximate, and I'll admit that freely. I'm not using CAD to make these measurements. What I think they're showing is also includes the full loop, which is the sidewalk that interconnects the parking areas and buildings into the rest of the site. So I included the dog park, the trail, and the passive area that includes the pool deck, the yard games, the racquetball courts. These are things that are all dimensioned of the plans. I simply used those, with the exception of this measurement of the trail, simply used the measurements that are outlined on the plan. What I did not include, which they have included, is the areas shown in green. The areas shown in green are essentially the buffer areas, the setbacks, the areas that are not improved with parking or buildings. Our code requires that anything that's to be considered open space, something that would apply towards the requirements of the code, there are certain requirements that they have to meet. It has to be 100 feet wide. It can't be environmentally sensitive area. There's other requirements, but essentially all of these areas shown in green around the perimeter site, I don't believe are 100 feet wide. These areas may be 100 feet wide, but they include a rather sloped area down to 202, so I didn't know if they should be included. And again, these are calculations that I prepared in the absence of something more that was requested from the applicant. I understand the applicant was working on cost estimates, and so I don't mean to speak over you. I'll certainly give you the chance to walk through your numbers as well. But in the absence of that, these are the numbers that I prepared. What I came up with was the calculations that are essentially shown or loosely measured on the plan. This is shown on the plan, and this is shown on the plan. If it's 1,000 square feet or so larger based on your calculations, that's something we could discuss, but that's not how it's shown on the plan. That comes out to approximately 47,000 square feet of recreation amenities. Subtract that rather from the total that's outlined above based on the number of units and the multiplier for 16,000 square feet per unit, you come up with a remaining area of 352,000 square feet, or about 12% of what's required by the code if you just simply go by the land area measurements. My calculation based on that, so that basically the remaining amount would be 88%. Divide that into the total fee, and I came up with 648,000. That's the only way that I could calculate this based on the available information. What the applicant has done, which we encouraged them to do when this was discussed, prior to the holidays, and I think since, was to prepare something that calculated it one or more ways, so the township staff could consider this and advise the board on what would be an appropriate way to apply credits or not to the fee. What they provided this afternoon, this evening, however you want to describe it, is something that assigns either an area and or a dollar value, where I did want to point, and I don't mean to be rude, but we don't agree on our calculations. You developed the total land area based on dividing the total number of units into the acreage to provide sort of a density number. I don't believe that's how it's to be calculated in our code. I think you take the total number of units divided by 10, so for every 10 units, the way it's described in the code, times the 16,000 square feet per unit. So essentially we're off on this number. This is a number that's calculated the same way but without the workforce housing units. So we have I would say a pretty fundamental difference in calculations on this front. It's not a huge number, but it does set up the rest to not really be as easy to examine here on the fly during the meeting. What they've done, and I'll kick it over to you now, is to prepare sort of an area and a cost associated with all the amenities with the site. The ones that I included, which seemed most consistent with how the code is outlined and how this has been applied on other projects in the past, are the dog park, the courtyard and pool deck area, and pickleball. So 3 out of the 7 that they outline here. It's hard for me to really get into the narrative text here. I understand some of the points that are being made, and maybe that's where Andy can take over here, but I did want to just at least point out that there's at least a difference in how we're calculating the base area and the base fee, and probably some things that we disagree on in terms of what should be applied to the code, at least per past practice. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that. I'll let Andy take over from here.
So Zach, I have a question for you. What is the purpose of the recreation fee in lieu?
The purpose of the fee is if you can't provide the facilities on site, you pay a fee to help the township provide amenities to residents, new residents, to meet the demand created by those new residents on the existing park system.
And what are those requirements by the township when they collect that money? What are they required to do with that money?
You put it in a fund, a separate fund, and you use it to fund parks acquisition and improvement projects.
Such as what?
Playgrounds, parks, trails. How long of a list would you like?
Upkeep,
As much as you would like.
upkeep, improvements.
No, it's not upkeep. It's not upkeep. It specifically does not include upkeep.
What's the point of your question?
The purpose is that we believe that have the best opportunity to provide the recreational opportunities that our occupants need on site. That we have gone above and beyond to provide as much as possible on site. We have a half-a-mile trail. We have an oversized dog park. We have an oversized fitness center. We have an oversized pool and game area. We have the potential for a pickleball and basketball area. We have open space. If the township were to require a $600,000 fee in lieu, I'm just curious as to what they would do with it that would benefit our tenants, based on what the requirements are on the township to provide that. It's supposed to be provided close by. It's supposed to be either for acquisition of additional land or some sort of like improvement. You said playground. Well, we were told day one that you don't want kids at this project because of the school system. So we did not put a playground in here. But if you want a playground, if that's going to help, we can put that in.
Simply providing a general list of things that are generally funded by those types of improvements. We've got at least one park within a mile radius of this project that you could drive to. I think a lot of people drive to our park, so I don't want to get into a debate over what's reasonably accessible. I don't want to get into a debate over what's envisioned by the overarching enabling legislation. I'm trying to apply our code as it's outlined today and how it's been applied to previous projects in the past. I don't mean to get into a philosophical debate over recreation, but you asked me a question and I answered it based on how we use those funds.
So what I'm going to say is that I believe, again, that we have provided the recreational opportunities and that we should get a whole lot more credit than you provided on your attempt at coming up with a fee in lieu.
Again, we probably could have had a better meeting of the minds if this had been provided in advance. I think this issue has been on the table. It's been called out in multiple review letters. It was discussed prior to the holidays when we discussed the fees and how they might be accommodated for this project, given your ability to provide workforce housing on this project, which again, I don't think goes without thanks. We appreciate your willingness to do that and what appears like your ability to deliver on that. But that doesn't absolve us from applying our code as consistently as we can.
And wouldn't you agree that there's a lot of interpretation in the code, the way it's described?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, I don't know. When 10 people read it, they're going to have 10 different opinions because it's not as specific as you make it out to be. So, but I hear what you're saying. I just think that, you know, like I said, I feel like we've gone above and beyond. We've made the effort to provide it on site. I think we should get a whole lot more credit than what you've given us.
I'm going to jump in and say, I understand what you're saying. Zach did what he did today because we didn't have anything from you guys. It sounds like we've been asking for it or talking about it for months now. I think because our analysis and your analysis are so far apart, I think it's very difficult for the board to try to make decisions on the fly, and I would recommend against it. Because if we have to, then I'm going to frankly, personally recommend that we follow the analysis that we prepared and not yours. I think the best thing is for us to not try to solve it here this evening and to meet and talk about it, and maybe you will get more credit. It's really hard to do when you're sitting here at 8:30 at night.
Steve, I will agree with you. Making decisions like this on the fly don't always come out correct. So I think more analysis, rather than making a decision here, is probably best for both parties. I mean, quite frankly, I came up with my own number, which is substantially different than your number. So, but is,
yeah, I
and
think
is higher than Zach. So, you know, if you want me to go with the number, I'll go with my number tonight.
So no credit for the workforce units?
No, I was actually going to give you credit for those.
Doesn't sound like it, though.
Excuse me?
It doesn't sound like it if your number is higher than Zach's.
Well, if the board is open to not including the workforce units, we can adjust the number based off that, but all I can do is give you the number that I have. I understand that you have prepared another analysis. It probably warrants review. I'm sure there's a lot of valid points in it, but I can't really say that here tonight that I've had the ability to do that. I think that's probably not fair to the board at the very least. You know, we can talk about what's fair to me some other time and what's fair to you certainly, but I certainly think it puts the board in a bit of a uncomfortable position. If the board is open to entertaining credit or not including the workforce units in the overall calculation of the total fee, I believe I have that number here scribbled in the margins. I could probably tell you what that is, but I also wouldn't expect Andy to agree to a fee that is different than what he walked into the meeting thinking he might be paying. So I'll put it back on you, Mr. Hicks. If you'd like to discuss it further, we can certainly talk about what that number would be. If you'd like to have time to maybe put our heads together and maybe agree on this number, which I think was the intent of what we talked about last week, we can certainly do that. I will make myself available, as I always have, to meet with you and resolve issues that have been come up throughout this process.
What would the board like to do?
This puts us in an uncomfortable position here. I will vocalize that I think, at least on my part, I think the 30 workforce units, market rate units, should be taken out of the equation, should be credited, whatever you want to do. But I do think that we're not quite coming to, I feel like we're not all on the same page, and I feel like we need to be if we're at this, to get this over to the goal line. I mean, I personally feel bad, you know, we're so close, but I feel we need to come to a consensus before making the final approval.
I think you need to go back with Zach and kind of run through things, and we need to then talk internally in terms of these numbers that we've seen. Okay.
I can tell you at a high level, just based on what I prepared in terms of credits, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there's no merit to what Mr. Hicks prepared, but the number that I came up with based on the credits and not including the workforce housing would be instead be not 648,000, but 560,000 approximately. So instead of being 648,820, it would be 560,470, with a comma in the middle, of course. That would be without the workforce housing units involved in the overall calculation, and with the credits as I calculated them based off what I measured and what I pulled from the plans. Just one way to calculate it.
What was
Is
that?
it-
I had 560, 470?
Yes, that's without the workforce housing, the 30 workforce housing units multiplied into the total fee, and with the credits for the walking trail, a portion of the walking trail loop, the passive recreation area that includes the pool deck, racket courts, etc., and the dog park, as I pulled it from the plans, as 13,000 or so square feet. I did not include the open space area around the perimeter because I did not feel that it complied with the criteria that are outlined in the code that houses all of these requirements.
And Andy, you're looking to completely avoid the park and lieu fee, correct? Because
no.
of the amenities you're...
Actually, I'm proposing $100,000. If you look at number 5.
Sorry, I didn't have time to get down that far.
Zach, we've previously given some credits along the way, haven't we, with the workforce units? Or I know we talked about it at one point in time.
Not for workforce units. We haven't had. Yeah, we had. This is. I mean, again, to Andy's credit, this is a sort of a pilot. This is.
No, but I mean, in this particular project, didn't we end up?
You gave credits for building permits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like building permits or other aspects of it.
Just for building A, which works out to somewhere between $45,000 and $50,000.
Okay.
Would you like to meet on this, or would you like for the board to make a decision based on?
I
what
guess if we meet, what are we doing with the land development approval?
Well, I think there could be, and I'll defer to other staff here, the management staff and our solicitor, but it could either be approved with the whole fee, the fee that I calculated, and you could come back and try to get that amended in some way. If it's crucial that there's some sort of approval tonight, I don't know what your exact scenario is. I don't want to be mindful of that because I know this has been a challenging project. If that's what the board is comfortable with and you'd like to approve it based on a staff calculated fee, try to resolve it among staff and among your team and come back and seek to amend that resolution. I don't know if that's quite how this process normally works, but I mean, as I've said in the past, I'm willing to be flexible and try to accommodate some of the challenges that you've had on this project.
What's the timeline for that the board has to make the decision? I think you said it was after next meeting. We don't need an extension.
I would have to confirm. I believe that based on the resubmitted plans and the normal 90-day shot clock calculation, it would carry us through the March meeting, I think even to the April meeting, but I would ask that the applicant not only agree here tonight to extend through the March meeting, but to follow up in writing with a letter as well, if that's something they're willing to do.
I guess I'd just throw out a proposal to approve the land development with a condition that we ultimately come to some sort of agreement on the fee in lieu.
That seems a little loose. I understand what you're trying to accomplish. I think my personal perspective, and again, I welcome others' opinions, would be to apply the credits, either do it as the whole fee, apply the credits that I, to the best of my ability, calculated. I feel fairly confident in those. And if you want to add language, we could try to redline it here tonight to revisit this based on an alternative calculation. Again, I'm open to all avenues, but I don't think we should punt entirely. And I think if the applicant needs something for various purposes here tonight in order to move forward, then it should be at least based on the full or staff calculated fee. That's just personally what I'd be most comfortable with.
To pigtail on that, I wouldn't be comfortable leaving that open-ended. I would prefer to have the staff calculated fee agreed upon to move forward with this night and then have that be renegotiated later.
What leverage do we have to renegotiate it once?
That's exactly our point. What leverage would we have if we don't put a fee down?
If the approval is conditioned on something that never occurs, then there's no approval.
Peter, can you turn off for a minute?
No problem.
My concern is if we don't put something in a resolution and we can't come to an agreement, you've got a resolution that you've agreed to, and where are we going to go with that?
But it's a resolution, it's the approval contingent upon agreement on this one item. If we never agree, that condition is never satisfied, so the approval never comes to really be.
So what's your appeal period? It becomes very, it becomes very tenuous as to what is going to happen when. You're going to start pulling building permits, and we're not going to have agreed on a number, and it's going to be a problem.
Well, we're either going to agree in the next week or two, or we're not.
Well, then I would put the number as Peter
what's your
indicated.
number?
I would put a
What's
number
your lowest number?
and you can come back next month and ask for that to be amended.
But what incentive do you have to amend it?
I'm sorry?
What incentive does the township have to amend it?
I feel like we're making good faith in having these discussions. If we weren't, we would just stand firm on
I
what the
understand.
fee should be. I mean, I think we're making very good faith in offering this number in lieu of what it is calculated to be. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Bernadette. My concern would be appeal rights. You need to appeal from something hard and fast, not squishy, as some might say. I would say there's got to be a number, and if there's language added that allows this to be revisited in the future, again, you certainly have my word, whatever that's worth to you, to meet with you and to give you a fair shake to convince me that another calculation is appropriate. Ultimately, that decision lies with the board.
So I think at a minimum, can we all agree that we can base it off the 220 units, we can take out the 30 workforce units? That would be number one. Number two would be is that I think that Zach's numbers, we can get those tightened up based off of CAD calculations. And I think that will change the number as well. So I think those two things right there, we can agree on, because I'm not asking for anything. I mean, you said you estimated some of those numbers. We can give you the exact numbers based off of a CAD file and CAD measurement. So all I'm saying is I do believe that if we take your number based on the 220 units with credits, use it as a placeholder with the understanding that we're going to meet and clean up the estimates so they're actuals, and then maybe discuss possible additional credits, to save everyone time and effort here. I'm willing to agree to the approval with your number as a placeholder.
And I need to give you an idea as far as what Peter was saying to add to it, as far as trying to work and negotiate it. We've gone through a long way. We've gone back and forth. Originally I looked at this and had a different opinion on the workforce. But I was going to give you credit for 15 of the 30. But I will agree to, along with the rest of the board, to net out the 30 workforce units in this as part of negotiating and having good faith with trying to get this resolved. Okay, so all I'm saying in the short version is I think everyone here at this end is trying to work something out, and I'm willing to back off from my 15 to 30.
So I don't want to read the whole condition in here, but I can sort of note at a high level, the way this condition is drafted currently, which has been provided to the applicant, sounds like they're in agreement with other aspects, essentially references the code, requires them to comply with the code or pay a fee in lieu. It's acknowledged that certain on-site recreation amenities could be credits. It spells out what the fee per unit is. It spells out what the total fee based on 250 is. I will amend this, and then it describes the things that would be considered credits that I walked through here this evening. I can amend this to include credits for the 30 workforce housing units and amend the remaining fee to, instead of being $648,820 to be $560,470. That would be sort of the redlining here on the fly. They had also asked, I believe in your previous message, generally we require these fees to be paid before recording the plan, just like we do any other impact fee or outstanding review fees. I believe they've asked, likely related to things not related to township business, that the fee be paid prior to pulling of a building permit. If the board is open to that and others on staff don't object to that, that should also be clarified in this condition of approval.
I don't object to that. I'm fine with what you described, Zach.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Concur.
I agree as well.
Yeah, and Catherine made a good point. Should be that the fee would be paid at the time of permits for the whole project. I'm trying to think of the best way to spell that out. I don't know that you intend to take the project down in phases per se, or if the builder would, but.
So I think the plan would be is we would submit building permits, building by building, and site separately. So I would say upon the first building permits, which would probably be a combination of demo, site, and building A. That would probably be the first grouping of building permits that we would request.
I think that's reasonable. Whichever the first building permit is pulled is when it will be triggered. There's also language here about waiving some of the other language associated with spending in 3-year period. Or you do agree that you're waiving some of those aspects that are outlined further in the enabling legislation and within the code, because that is how it's spelled out in the code and that's how it's spelled out in the resolution.
I'm gonna, hold on one second. Can you repeat what you were asking? I just want to make sure that
Yeah, so condition L in the resolution we provided to you spells out that you're waiving by signing this resolution, just like you're accepting all other conditions, that you're waiving the requirement that these funds be expended within 3 years. I don't want to read the whole condition, but that's essentially the crux of it.
It's language right from the subdivision and land, the township subdivision and land development ordinance.
Yeah. Is it possible to get some sort of time period, just so it's not completely open-ended?
I think, I want to speak for the board here, but I think generally speaking, our preference would be to have fewer restrictions on the use of those funds. Sometimes these park projects take quite a bit of time to plan and implement. So, you know, if you'd like to counter with some specific language, I'm sure we could consider it, or we could consider it when we revisit the total fee. But my recommendation to the board would be to accept the condition as drafted. And if you'd like to counter with some language, we'll certainly review it. I can't say that we would agree to it.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on this. My advice as a solicitor is this is the language right from your ordinance.
That's our language, yes.
What's the language? The 3 years? Yeah, that is the language in the ordinance that requires you to. I don't recall seeing anything.
It says, upon request of the developer who has paid such fees, the township shall refund such fees plus interest accumulated thereon from the date of payment if the township fails to utilize the fee so paid for such purposes within 3 years from the date on which such fees were paid, unless the developer specifically waives in writing the requirements that such fees be expended within such
Sure.
time, or waives in writing that such fees be repaid. So I repeat that in the
Sure.
resolution, that the developer specifically waives in writing the requirement such fees be expended within such time, and that such fees be repaid. Because that's coming right out of your
So we're
ordinance.
being required to adhere to the requirements of your ordinance as far as calculations of the credits and whatnot. But
I'm
then
sorry?
I said, so you want us to accept the strict and adhere to the strict requirements of the ordinance as far as calculation of the areas to get credit because
Right,
they're not
that-
as wide and et cetera, et cetera. But then you want us to allow you to not comply
No.
with the ordinance.
We figured out the numbers. Zach used the ordinance, and then,
Yeah, you're referring to
Right,
the
yeah, we
amount of
asked that
time
to be waived.
to expend the fees? Is
Yeah.
that your concern, is that we would be
No, I mean,
not
I'm
held
saying
to
on one
that
hand, you want
requirement?
us to comply with the letter of the ordinance, but on the other hand, you're asking us to waive your requirement to adhere to the ordinance to spend it in 3 years.
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the specific language right from our.
No, I know
ordinance.
we have to expressly agree to waive it. We're not obligated to waive it.
No, you're not obligated. It's going to be in the resolution.
Okay. Can we discuss, again, as Andy said, like an extension of the time? I don't think we should leave it open-ended so that money can sit there
Listen, we're going to put it in the resolution tonight.
for an
You
eternity.
can come back and ask for it to be something
Okay, so you don't
different or
want to
some-
discuss that at all here tonight?
I'm not discussing it now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think where we're at is that the condition, can't do the alphabet in reverse. Condition K as provided to the applicant.
Can you go ahead, can he read it? And we'll agree to it? Rather than us trying to interject what you're trying.
Oh, it's
Well,
already in the resolution.
Yeah, this was, so what we provided to you in your packet was a placeholder pending
All right.
further information.
Got it.
So it has been further amended from what was provided in your packet, in fairness to you. That's why I was trying to spell out what's actually contained within those, so that I can understand how that's confusing. I apologize. I should have emailed this to you all this afternoon. Yeah, so.
We're waiting on K, the numbers for letter K in the resolution.
Yep.
To get this across the goal line.
Yeah, and then beyond that, what was described with the fee, the only other change to it is this waiver of the requirement to refund the fees if they're not used within 3 years, is essentially what the code says. Other than that, there's no changes to the resolution, only the calculation of the fee, as we discussed tonight, and then this waiver to use the fees within 3 years, which is what they weren't sure if they were comfortable with. Other than that, there's no changes. And again, I understand this is hard to keep track of. I'm not.
I'm almost with you.
Yeah, so the way that, essentially the upshot of what goes into the red is $560,470. and then we'll describe how what's being applied as a credit in that language. Yep. So I guess what's before the board is if they're comfortable with what's been described tonight, we would amend the ordinance before it's executed by you and by the applicant to reflect what's discussed here tonight, the new amount, the credits that are being applied to it, and including this waiver of the fee. And if in the meantime, there can be a consensus drawn between your calculation and like the financial credits to the overall fee, this would be amended at a future meeting. If we don't, you certainly have a platform to come and talk to the board about it. And I will say, as I say to you prior to that meeting and during, whether I agree with you. And then it'll be up to the board.
So what's in front of us? If Andy agrees, or does not, he wants to punt it to the next meeting, we'll push this forward with the staff agreed upon fee for park, it's getting late, excuse me. The rec fee in lieu.
Right.
To be said number to be amended, potentially amended another time. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Is that what you're seeking, Andy?
Yeah, I'd like to move the land development approval along. I think we've agreed to the $560,000 number as a placeholder until Zach and I can get together, and I think we agree on the 30 workforce units being taken out of the calculation, and that if we clean up some of the square footages and stuff like that, it'll alter the number slightly because Zach used estimated square footages to come up with his. So what I'm saying is let's just use the actual square footages.
Something that could easily be agreed upon, and if you have a little more time.
There
than
shouldn't
this
be any
meeting.
disagreement with that.
Sure.
I agree.
And I think, without rehashing it, the only reason why I think we were asking for something longer than 3 years is because the state requires that the money be used within 3 years. I understand that that's fairly short, but what's being asked is that we waive any time period or any right of asking for the money back if it's not used. So that's why I think we brought it up. I just want you to understand, if you're standing in my shoes, we're talking about $560,000, which when we sign it, basically the township has no obligation to do anything with it at that point, because we can't get the money back. So that's why it came up. I don't think we're unreasonable bringing that issue up, just to make you aware of it. It's pretty one-sided, so.
And essentially what would happen is we'd move forward with it as amended tonight, and if we'll revisit this next month for an amended approval, essentially. I think practically speaking, that's how it would show up on the agenda, and we'd have a red line of the current language for you to be able to compare to what's approved here tonight.
So, Zach, what we're going to do is both you and Bernadette are going to read into it. So I'm going to make a motion for this resolution as read into the record by both Zach Barner and Bernadette Kearney.
I don't think we're going to read the whole resolution, correct? Or
The resolution in question, the portion,
Just the open space portion,
the open space, yeah, I guess under K underneath the resolution.
under K and L. Do you want me to read it, or you want to read it?
I should have taken my gum out. So condition K would read, and I'll try to amend it on the fly in the middle here. The applicant shall comply with section 175-40, including the payment of the applicable parks, open space, and recreation, parentheses POR, fee in lieu as described therein. Is acknowledged that certain on-site recreational amenities as outlined in the applicable credits to POR fee as calculated by staff exhibit, which is what I displayed on the screen, may constitute a credit to the otherwise required fee of $2,945 per dwelling unit. The total fee, absent any credits or waivers thereof, equates to $736,250 based on 250 total dwelling units. The remaining fee, in consideration of the applicable credits related to the proposed dog park, passive recreation such as pool and yard games, etc., and walking trail along the southern and western portions of the property, but excluding those portions of the loop which are shown as sidewalks connecting the buildings, parking areas, and other facilities, and in consideration of the 30 workforce housing units, equates to a total of $560,470. The required park, open space, and recreation fee in lieu shall be paid prior to application of the first building permit for the project. At the time of the application for the first building permit for the project. And then condition L would be pursuant to section 175-40B5, if the township fails to utilize the fees paid for such purposes as set forth in 175-40B within 3 years from the date on which such fees were paid, the applicant waives the requirement that such fees be expended within such time and waives the requirement that such fees be repaid. The applicant acknowledges that the signing of this resolution meets the requirement that the waivers set forth in 175-40B5 be in writing.
So I'd like to make a motion as read, to approve as read into the docket under K and L. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. And passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Yep. I'll let you do that. All right, John, I hope you don't have any issues.
Still here,
Because
still
if you
awake.
do,
I have
as big as you are, I'm going to throw you out.
I have none, Mr. Chairman. Chris has got his eye on me already. The zoning-
Chris, get him out of here.
The zoning hearing board has no business this month, and no pending applications before it. Under updates and for the board, the Zoning and Code Enforcement Office continues to promote and update the rental occupancy registration requirements for East Whiteland Township. Under the code, the township requires all property owners to register their rental properties by providing basic contact information. Forms will be going out with the township property to the township property owners
in their 2026 tax collectors packet, which will be being sent out shortly. Additional copies will be available on our township webpage. Only property owners which rent the property to anyone not listed on the deed are required to submit this application form. If you have any questions, you can contact me directly or fill out a request using our Citizen Reporter app, which is located on the township webpage. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Moving into number 8, we'll take any comments for 3 minutes on any items not specifically listed in the agenda that we covered tonight.
My name's Dennis Warden. I'm going to make this quick because I didn't expect to be sitting here this long listening to the other folks that just left. But I'm very disappointed in this township. I lived here 45 years, put 2 children through Great Valley High School, and a data center was approved right in the heart of our township. Why? Why would we do that? We talked here tonight about parks. We talked about pollution. We talked about a lot of things. That data center is going to create noise. It's going to create pollution. It's going to increase electric bills for the township residents. It's going to degrade the value of homes in Malvern Hunt. But we approved it. We approved it. We approved it during COVID, when a lot of people, it was 2018, I think this thing started. I've done a lot of research on it. In fact, I'm trying to get the governor involved, to be honest with you, because I felt like we were sold down the river by the board. You changed the zoning permit. That land, the only reason the 55 and over didn't do it was because it was a super site, whatever it may be. Who's to say how far these folks are going to dig? What are they going to do with all that dirt? They could dig deep enough to hit those chemicals again. Am I correct in saying that? What kind of money did we get as a township to put that data center in? I'm telling you, a lot of the neighbors did not know what was going on. You may think they did, but they didn't. The alarm bell is now sounding. And if this board approves what they came in with the last time to enlarge it, none of you will get my vote again. None of you. I don't know how many of you have lived in this township 45 years. Probably not too many of you. Okay? I have. I've supported this township. I've supported that high school. Okay? I am just so disappointed in our township. I really am. I wish one of you could tell me why we approved it. Why? We could have approved a lot of other things on that land besides a data center. And after hearing these folks speak tonight, I guess it was all about money. What kind of money did we get from them? I will never forget this. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm going to do everything I can. If that data center is above the noise level, just like Williams was, we had to prove it. Our township, or our association proved it to Williams that they were above the decimals. We went out and bought a meter, put it on the fence. They came to us. We resolved it, our board. We didn't get any help from the township. And if that damn thing's above the decimals, I'm coming after you folks.
It is. Okay. No. I mean, if you want to.
I have a rebuttal for you, Dennis.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't think you'd find anybody in this room that would be in disagreement with you about not wanting data centers, knowing what we know now.
Right.
But this data center was presented to us over 4 years ago. Not
You're right.
Exactly during COVID when no one was in the room, but
You're
when
right.
people were in the room.
Right.
And I don't know if you can remember 4 years ago what a data center meant to you or anybody. It didn't mean anything. It was just
I work with
kind of
computers, so I know
abstract-
what a data center is all about.
Well, to
okay?
we
We have
of
a
us,
data center at our corporation in Dayton, Ohio.
To most of us, it was basically a warehouse with computers in it.
It's
Nothing
exactly-
more than that.
that's exactly what it
Not
is.
an environmental
You're right.
hazard, not a energy draw or any of those downsides that are now known about them. So
Right.
for that particular space in the township, it seemed a good fit because it was away from residents. There was a planned green space forest to be put up to grow into a natural screen in front of it. We did our due diligence with that for noise level studies, for screening it off eventually, not immediately because trees don't grow overnight, but it was on a Superfund site where nothing else really should belong, but maybe a building that's occupied by only a few people, a few hours during the day. To say we didn't do our due diligence at that time would be inaccurate. And for our knowledge at that time, we were exhausted about it. Hindsight being 2020, we didn't know what we know now. And it's unfortunate, but the
Well-
past cannot be changed.
You know, data centers have been around quite some time, sir. Like I said, I work for a computer company. We have a data center.
That's your knowledge.
I
I'm an arborist.
understand that. I understand.
We all have different backgrounds.
It sounds like to me that you should have done some research on it.
We had.
You had. 4 years ago, you did research on it, and you couldn't find anything on it?
The noise levels were the general concern, and we did exhaustive research on that.
The
to
gentleman
assure
that
the
sat in
residents-
here last board meeting was using statistics. That's all he was using. I could have come in here and gave you statistics on it. You're not going to know until it's built. Now they want to put the generators outside. Now they want to have an entrance off Sweetsford Road. Think about it. The mall Exton Mall was going to be built with whatever, apartments and everything. Those residents woke up, they put it all on hold. That's not going through right now because of the residents, okay? And I think this thing needs to be put on hold, okay? That's my opinion. And after finding out about the land that we own, that we put an easement or gave them the right of way is wrong. Was that ever brought up to the township? Was that ever brought up to the residents? I don't remember reading anything on it. Maybe this gentleman can tell me.
All I can say is that it's shown on the plans. It was shown on the previous zoning hearing board plans. It was shown on the previous land development plans. I don't know what specifically you're referring to, but yes, it's shown on the plans. Those plans are of record. They're on our website. They're accessible here at the township. I can provide a copy to you if you'd like, but.
Yeah, I'd like a copy.
Sure, yeah, we
In
can
fact,
certainly do that.
I would like a copy of all the documents that were signed, or be able to view those documents that were signed back in 2018, because I am hearing some folks say that those documents are invalid.
That would
Okay.
fall under our Right to Know Act, and you would have to speak with Donna.
Okay.
Outside of this meeting, please.
Yeah,
To
okay. Okay.
ascertain those
Yeah,
documents.
like I said, I don't know where you folks live, and that's immaterial, but I know where I live, okay? That's going to affect my property value, okay? And you can't sit here and say it's not. I've talked to a couple of realtors already, okay? You guys made a big mistake. You did not do your homework. That's all I can say. You did not do it. You can say you did, but you didn't. There was information 4 years ago on data centers. Because I worked for a company, I've worked 40 years for the same company. Everybody wants to go to the cloud. I sell computers to car dealerships. They all want to go to the cloud, okay? Again, like I said, I don't think any of you live near this data center, none of you. You approved something, you approved it for the money. You sold out Malvern Hunt. That's what you did. A development that pays a lot of taxes. Probably pays the most taxes in this township. Okay?
As it turns out,
No, do not. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
It's been a late night.
Yeah, it
Thank you
definitely
very
has
much.
been. So, anyway, I got my 2 cents in. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I appreciate that. No, I got your response. I appreciate it. Yep. Yep. I'm gonna have a lot of questions. Like I said, I'm trying to get the owner involved in everything. So I'm not done. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yep. Yep. Yep.
What's left? Consent.
we have a consent agenda. I will,
Anybody else want to speak?
any other public comments?
Gentlemen, sat here all night. Nothing?
Okay, I'll read, and if you have any questions pertaining to the consent agenda, we can investigate further. Approve the meeting minutes from January 5th, 2026. Ratify payment of bills in the amount of XXXX, and let's get a good one. $1,041,221.30. Accept the treasurer's report. Approve amended natural lands proposal for Ridley Springs master planning in the amount of $56,590. Ratify an AED purchase for the administration and public work building in the amount of $6,268.80. And approve the summer camp fee price increase for non-residents. Would you like to make a motion to approve?
Sure.
Gentlemen?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read. Yep.
I'll second that.
Well, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.